There were a group of folks who got together to talk about how we would go about separating. And they put together something known as the Protocol of Reconciliation and Grace Through Separation. This happened in December of 2019. You need to know it was people on all sides of this issue. And listen, I'm not naive enough to think that everybody agrees on this issue even here. I understand that there may be folks who have different opinions about that, and that's okay. That's okay. But they brought all sides together in Atlanta at a meeting and brought in a fellow named Feinstein, who was a lawyer who helped them negotiate a way forward by separation. And they all agreed that this is what we needed to do. Progressives, conservatives, centrists, bishops, they had a good group there. And so this plan, if it were passed, would allow for the separation and to form two or more denominations, a progressive or a liberal United Methodist Church, and then a traditional version, or maybe some kind of third version. We really hadn't heard much about a third version. Sort of like the Presbyterians have done in the past. I think the Episcopalians, some others have done this in the past. So it would allow a traditional denomination. And I want to talk about the Global Methodist Church. Some of you may have heard about that. I'm going to come back to that. But that would be the traditional version of our new Methodist denomination. I'll come back to that. The other option was what they called the post-separation UMC, and that's the progressives part of what was left of the church. And then the third would be some other denomination, but as I said, I haven't really heard much about that. But here was the other piece of this plan that was interesting. It would authorize annual conferences and local churches to vote to affiliate with one or more of these denominations. So it basically gave the churches the right to decide who they wanted to affiliate with. But also an annual conference could do that. Like the South Georgia Annual Conference would be able to vote to say, hey, we want to stay together as a conference, but we want to be part of the traditional church, not the progressive post-separation church. And that was a good thing. And you could do so without penalty. You could take your property. The conference could take the property that the conference owns. A local church could take their own property and leave and be affiliated with a new denomination, which is important. Conferences and churches could vote to leave and retain their property without penalty. Because here's the catch for some of you who don't know. The reason Park Avenue couldn't right now just say, hey, we're done with this, let's go. We're no longer part of the United Methodist Church. We're going to be an independent Methodist church or whatever. The reason that we couldn't do that without penalty right now is because our property is held in trust under a trust clause by the annual conference. So we don't technically own our own property, even though we built it, you built it, we paid for it, you paid for it. It's ours, but they have this trust clause, which says that if we ever stop being part of the South Georgia Annual Conference, then our property goes to them. It's called a trust clause. But under this protocol, the trust clause is waived, and there's no issue there at all. So the conference couldn't take your property. So to illustrate that, here's what would happen. Let's say we get fed up and we say, okay, we're done. So I go to my district superintendent and I say, hey, we're through with the Methodist Church as it appears right now. We're gonna just do our own thing for a while and then we'll see where we go. And she'll say, okay, fine, give me your keys. And I would say, oh, we have to give you our keys. And so she said, yeah, you can leave, but you can't take your property. We get your property. And so that's the way the trust clause works. But under this provision, that's waived. It goes away. So we thought...